Okay, good afternoon. Today's Tuesday, December 8th, 2020, and welcome to the public hearing of the San Benito CISD Board of Trustees via video conference or telephone conference. And I call this meeting to order at exactly 5:16 p.m. Roll call. Ms. Weaver.
Present.
Ms. Silva.
Present.
Mr. Corona.
Present.
Ms. Yanis.
Present.
Ms. Lopez.
Present.
Mr. Moreno.
Present.
Dr. Carmen.
Present.
And Mr. Flores.
Present.
Thank you. Okay, so we don't have public comment. Let's move on to agenda item 1.4, discussion and presentation of San Benito CISD rating for the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas, acronym FIRST. Dr. Carmen.
Mr. Lopez, I think we have Mrs. Vicky Pettis joining us tonight for this presentation. Mrs. Pettis.
Hi there.
No.
Hey, Vicky.
I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Ma'am.
Great.
Yes, ma'am.
Y'all see the PowerPoint, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Excellent. So tonight is our first rating public hearing, December 8th, 2020. Let's see here. So before we start, I do want to preface this with it that this is the 2019-2020 Financial Integrity Rating Systems Texas report, and this is based on the 2018 and 2019 information. So as we go through it, just keep in mind that we are 2 years behind, and they always do this, and this is just how first ratings go. So the first rating can be accessed on the TEA website. And one of the first requirements is that we have the superintendent's contract presented at the meeting, or we should have had his contract posted on the website for 12 consecutive months, which we have. Dr. Carmen has always had his contract up there, so this automatically meets the requirements. The next requirement is that we post we're within 10 to 30 days of our first hearing. So we did post in the Valley Morning Star and the San Benito News accordingly. These are proofs of our advertisements. So the other requirement is that we share with our public the amount of funds that have been spent on the superintendent and the school board members between the months of July 2018 and June 2019. So I will go through the members and superintendent and give you the total. Dr. Nate Carmen, $23,538.62. Ms. Garcia, $8,511.74. Mr. Lopez, $4,612.24. Mr. Mendez, $6,608.18. Mr. Rosas, $14,856.43. Ms. Silva, $13,932.57. Mr. Vargas, $18,482.29. And Ms. Weaver, $15,050.18. So our first presentation is we're going to go over the details of the report itself. As we go through it, we'll have a little bit of information, and I do have some information on the items that we got lower than usual. Our overall rating is a B, so our score is an 88. In comparison to last year, we did have a 94. However, there are some circumstances that are different this year. I wasn't happy with it, so I did request that we appeal to TEA on certain items. We were denied. I'm still not happy, but this is our presentation. And I'll give you some information on the stuff that we had requested to TEA. So very briefly, I will go through each of them just very briefly, and at the end we can talk about some of the key items. So number one was the complete annual financial report submitted within the 30 days of the deadline, and the answer is yes. On number two, was there an unmodified opinion on our financial statements as a whole? Unmodified meaning, was it a clean audit? And the answer is yes. Did the external independent auditor report that it was free of any instances and material weaknesses? Yes. Was the district in compliance with payments of all debt agreements at the end of the year? Yes. Did the district make timely payments to TRS, Texas Workforce Commission, the IRS, and other government agencies? Yes. Number 5 indicator was not a scoring indicator, so we'll go on to number 6. Was the number of days on cash on hand and current investments in the general fund sufficient to cover our expenditures? We got a 10 out of 10. Last year we had a 10 as well. Number 7 was the measure of current assets to liabilities ratio for the school district sufficient to cover short-term debt? We had a 10. Last year we had an 8. Number 8 was the ratio of long-term liabilities to total assets for the school district sufficient to support long-term solvency? So can we operate on a long-term basis? Yes, we got a 10. Last year was also a 10. Number 9, did the school district's general fund revenues equal or exceed the expenditures? And if it did not, did we have at least 60 days of cash on hand? And that one we got a 10, which we got a 10 as well last year. Number 10, was the debt service coverage ratio sufficient to meet the required debt service? That one we got a 0, and I have a perfectly good explanation. That's the one that I did not like, but we will go into that one shortly. Last year we did get an 8. Number 11, was the school district's administrative cost ratio equal to or less than the threshold ratio? This year we got an 8. Last year we also had an 8. Number 12, did the school district not have a 15% decline in the students to staff ratio over 3 years? We got a 10, and last year we had a 10. Number 13, did the comparison of PEIMS data result in a total variance of 3%? We did not have a variance of 3%, so we got a 10, and that was also a 10 last year. Number 14, did the external independent auditor indicate that the audit was free of any instances of material non-compliance for grants? We got a 10, and last year we also had a 10. Number 15, did the school district not receive an adjustment repayment schedule for more than 1 fiscal year? We got a 10, and last year we got a 10. So our overall score was an 88. So I want to talk about the debt service ratio because that's the one that we got a 0 on. So as we look at this one, and please stop me if you have any questions. The expenses, we are showing $121 million. The revenues are showing 117. That year, we took close to $6 million out of fund balance to do high school renovations, Sunny Brazil upgrades, softball, fencing, roofing, marquees, technology, firewalls. We did a lot of amazing things at San Benito CISD. Unfortunately, they did not record that as revenues because we took it out of our fund balance. So that was just an unfortunate glitch in how the recording happens at TEA. Now, if they had recognized those fund balance monies as revenue, we would have had a 1.26 instead of this 0.3802, and we would have met all 10 points. So we did submit that to TEA. I did ask that they consider those fund balance monies as revenues, but they stuck to their guns. So that is just an unfortunate method of calculation that affects us. The next one is our administrative cost ratio. That was indicator number 11. That one, we had the same score last year. This year, we barely missed it by 0.0102. It was a very, very marginal. Again, it's not what we would like for it to be, but that is what our score is on that one. That one can be improved. We do have calculators that we can predict what it's going to be. So in the future, we will have a plan for fixing that one. And as always, I'm always very proud of how well we do with our fund balance, considering, like I just said, we use $6 million of that to all of these upgrades. We are still within 3.5 months of what our fund balance should be. So we should have about 90 days. We have 103.5 days. So I think that's something that we should definitely be proud of. And indicator 9, was the ratio of long-term liabilities to total assets for the school sufficient to support long-term solvency? So how are we going to do long-term? And our score was that we have a 7%, at least a 7% increase in membership over 5 years. So our long-term liabilities and solvency is in a very good position. So that does conclude the information from our first report. Do I have anybody with questions that they might want to ask?
Ms. Vicky, I had one on number 10 with the one where you said you went back, they stuck to their guns. Is that like a final say so? There's no way we can retract that or anything? I mean, it's done.
Yes. So one of the things that we do when we get the report in September is we have the option of looking over it and appealing, and then we have 60 days from that time. We have asked them to look over it. We've supported all of our requests with all kinds of documentation. TEA did get that, and they did determine on November 4th, if I'm not mistaken, that it does stand as is.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Vicky, was that on whose mistake? Was it an honest mistake, or was something that they just changed, or something that somebody overlooked that, or what? How did that happen?
It is not it's a recording. It's the way TEA records how we're moving from fund balance over into our expenses. So when we move money from fund balance, we're telling them we're going to increase our expenses, but it doesn't necessarily record it as revenues also. So we have a higher expense, but no revenues to match up with it. So whenever we do our budget, I do recognize fund balance monies as revenues. TEA just does not. It's not part of the formula. And quite honestly, there are more than one indicators on this report that don't necessarily fall within the guidelines of how we do things in general. There are some other fund balance issues that we've seen. So it wasn't necessarily a mistake. It's just how TEA recognizes it.
And how did we do last year?
Last year we had an 8.
Okay, so
last year we did not use a lot of fund balance. That's the difference. The prior year we did not use a lot of fund balance.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's kind of a catch-22. The state wants us not to carry too large of a fund balance, but when we use it on things that are needed, like for our facility upgrades, then we get dinged on this type of report. But overall, an 88 is still a good and solid score, Mrs. Pettis. There are some districts who would love to have that 88 and
Yes.
have a failing score, and some of those are not too far from us. So there's nothing wrong with an 88. Obviously, we want to get 100 on everything, but overall, this is a good report. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Perez, is there a cash flow formula that's used? Because sometimes cash flow formulas, you can only use certain numbers. And that's why Dr. Carmen was saying it's a kind of catch-22 kind of, because you can only use it based off the cash flow of how things are done. So is that what we have that we're working with, like a cash flow kind of formula?
It's similar to that, ma'am. The
Yes.
accounting that it takes to record that we're moving from fund balance over to an expenditure, it does not even touch the revenue side. So it just doesn't recognize it as revenue, even though it's our own revenue. It's just not recognizing as that.
I hear you. I know based off experience that that's what happens sometimes, that
Yes,
there's
ma'am.
only certain numbers that we can use and set depending on the cash flow, how it's coming in.
Right.
And so like Dr. Carmen says, it's a catch-22 kind of deal.
It is.
Yes.
The important thing is that we're using our fund balance the way we should be. Our students are being taken care of.
Sure.
Unfortunately, it does not reflect on that one indicator, but I'm very proud of what we've done for our students.
Good.
Ms. Vicky, going back to what Ms. Yanis was just saying right now, Is there any way maybe if you pull it out in certain portions and that way we don't get hit at once? Or is there just no way around it? I mean, I know it's a great score. I understand that. But if it's going to help us in the long run, if we pull it out, maybe, I don't know, just divide it up in 3 portions instead of all at once. I don't know how you guys are doing it.
The best thing that we can do is talk to TEA about how they're allowing us to record the transfer from fund balance into expenditures and make them aware that, look, this is how it's affecting our first report. What recommendations do you have? So we do meet with TEA during our finance council meetings at least once or twice throughout the year. So that's definitely one of the ones that we plan on discussing with them.
Because if they had honored it, we would have, exceeded it. We would have been good, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We would have had
Awesome.
a 98.
All right. Thank you so much for that presentation.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Vicky, I want to thank you so much for that presentation. It was great. Once again, from my opinion, I think the prioritizing of how the money was spent in as far as all the great things going on in the district right now outweighs the score as far as I'm concerned. That money was well spent and needed to be spent as improvements in our district. And everybody's happy with all the investments that we made in the district. So, it's unfortunate, call it catch-22, call it whatever, but at the end of the day, it was a great investment. We did what we needed to do, and our staff is happy, our parents are happy, and the kids are happy seeing new things go up. So Vic, I want to thank you so much. And yes, it's an unfortunate situation. If there's other ways, like Mr. Corona, Medianes said, to figure this out, it's very tricky. But at the end of the day, as long as we're using the money wisely for our kids and the resources they need to succeed, then we're cool. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you all so much, Dr. Carmen, board members, for your comments. Anybody else?
Yes, I do have a comment. Just to me, to see a 0 there. However, we did get an 88, so that's to be commended for. But to see a 0 there, I think that like you said, Ms. Perez, it's very important to keep that communication going with PEA to see how that can be corrected so that next year we won't be docked for that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Overall, we did a good. The district is looking really good. A B rating is something to be commended for. So good job.
Thank you, sir.
Any more comments?
I do have a question. If we can go back to the beginning on the expenditures. On the expenditures, on the reimbursements by superintendent and board members, I noticed that there's a lot of fluctuation there. And so I just wanted a little bit of an explanation why some board members may have had 800, whereas other, maybe 800 in meals, yet other people had 2,000 in meals.
It could be a variation of whether or not they chose to participate in any certain training. Every board member is invited to all of the trainings. Not all of them can make it. So that's probably the reasoning behind it. It's just a variation of whether or not they can attend some of these trainings.
Is there like a meal daily rate plan or something that the school district uses, or is it open to as much as you want to spend?
No, we have a maximum per diem per day, depending on where they're going. And we do follow the GSA from the government.
Okay. And on the lodging as well, I noticed some had 2,000, others had about 7,000. So I'd like an explanation on that as well.
On anyone in particular, or would you like a report after the meeting is over?
If you can explain to me why there's a big variation there right now.
I do not have the details in front of me, but we can definitely get that information based on whether or not they attended a certain training. That's where that hotel money would have been spent.
Okay.
So if they did,
is there a policy in place as well for that, as far as how much can be spent? I know that when I used to travel, they would have like a state rate and we would have to follow that state rate.
Yes, ma'am. We have this GSA rate as well, depending on what location they're going to be in. That's where the total amount is. Okay. Unless, of course, it is at the conference hotel, then we go with that as well.
And does the conference hotel give you a state rate?
For the most part, yes, they do give a discounted rate if they know that there's going to be a conference there for large groups. They usually do give a discounted rate.
Vicky, I just want to add on to what Ms. Lopez just said. That I'm not questioning the expense. I'm questioning just that variation. I mean, we have 3 board members that you know their lodging is under 3,000 when the other 3 individuals are double that. So could that be necessarily attributed to more participation and more, like you said, more trainings? And then
Correct.
also depending on what training that is, you know, where you stay at and stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's an explanation for it, but it doesn't look good when you see it on paper.
Right. There is, just like you said, there's a variation depending on what trainings they go to. I have seen where they do go to a trainings, but they don't take the hotels, or they, you know, they stay at a family member's house or whatever it may be.
Okay.
There really is a variation for many different reasons on each of them. So
Okay.
it really is
And
an individual basis on those.
Hi, Ms. Vicky, if I
yeah,
may.
and in my experience as well, but traveling all over the place, I mean, different people, different board members, and different, you know, whatever the people are, whoever the people are, they don't always submit all those expenses. Some just choose to pay it on their own, and others choose to reimburse.
True.
So it depends on the person.
Correct. It is.
Ms.
Correct.
Perez,
And also, if I may.
you can explain, Ms. Perez, on the other, what falls under other?
On the bottom, there's a legend. It does say that it's registration fees, cell phone, internet service, fax machine, and other reimbursements on behalf of the superintendent or board member, not defined. So meals obviously are meals that are directly paid, hotels, transportation is airfare and rentals, gasoline is motor fuel. And so anything else that falls under their travel expenses would be an other expense.
And the motor fuel, is that only for when board members attend conferences?
They drive.
Yes, it's mileage reimbursements.
For when they drive to conferences only? Is that limited or is it open?
No, it's
It
any
can-
mileage reimbursement that was paid to the board member.
So if board members visit campuses, then they can get mileage reimbursement for that?
Not that I know of, ma'am.
No?
I have not seen a reimbursement for that.
Okay, so only for conference related.
That I've seen, yes.
Okay.
Or state meetings or regional meetings if they serve on a committee, any official school business.
Mhm. Thank you.
I have a comment, Vicky, that, you know, it's, for the most part, a lot of the board members in the past, since I've been sitting here, have been invited to multiple functions as far as awards and national awards and stuff like that. Some of us work, some of us can't attend. But for the most part, that's the reason why I see a lot of variances. Me personally, I don't take any gas money, so I use my own. But that's my choice. But, you know, so like Mr. Moreno said, people do different things and you know, as see fit. Like, you know, for example, if a conference is 4 days, but we can only stay 2, you know, then, you know, you stay 2 days. So you're going to see a bunch of variations once we start this whole process of going to conferences again. Some of these conferences are a week long, but you don't have to stay there the whole week. But if you choose to, then you choose to, right? So it's pretty, that's just the way it is. Some of our board members were, you know, you see a huge difference because a lot of them were part of other boards, like the Hispanic board, you know, the NALEO and so on and so forth. So they were invited to all these representing San Benito CISD. And then also some board members were, you know, some board members used to go to all these chess tournaments. So that's the reason why you see that too. So, you know, there's all different variations. Everybody's invited to, you know, to participate in the success of the school district. So, you know, but yes, it is a little alarming when you look at it and you're figuring out like what's the disparity here. But there's a lot that goes on. So
Right. Is this
Thank you, Ms. Vicky.
this was the 2018, 2019, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. That fiscal year is what we're
Okay, so
reporting
we're
here.
thinking that maybe 2019, 2020 would be a little less because of due to COVID and everybody's online.
Oh,
So we should be
definitely.
seeing a little bit less probably this coming year that we are not seeing. So
Absolutely.
It's understandable. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so very
And
much.
you all will
Just wanted to.
you all will be getting invited. All the board members will get invited to something, some function, some deal. you know, and,
Right.
and you guys have the authority to make a decision whether you guys want to go or not.
Sure, yeah. But what I'm saying is that you should be seeing something less due to COVID.
Yes, a lot
nobody,
less, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
yeah.
ma'am. Yes,
Right.
ma'am. Yes.
And yes, Ms. Perez, if you can send us a report on that, please. I would like to see the details on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion.
I got a motion by Mr. Corona. Can I have a second, please?
I'll
Second.
I got a second by Ms. Sonia Weaver. All in favor with a show of hands?
Aye.
Motion carries. We adjourn this meeting at exactly 5:42 p.m. Thank you.